Hello, everyone. Oops, what's going on? I have no idea why it's. Welcome to today's answer in 5. I hope everyone can hear me. Let me see if it's working. Perfect. Yes, it's working. Thank you. A couple of questions to ask today, and but first we want to taste some bread because I have Richard over here stopping by and bringing us samples of soft grain. All right, Richard, take it away. What would we have here?
So what we have here is a series of actually 5 different breads that are made with 5 different Sapori soft grain products. And these products are grains that are cooked in a sourdough. And the benefits of having grains that are cooked in a sourdough is that the grains are not hard anymore, so you don't take the chance of hurting yourself or breaking a tooth when you eat the bread. So it's a much better eating experience. The other advantage is that the grains being hydrated, they are not going to suck out the moisture from the bread after baking. So the bread will remain soft and moist for a longer time.
So here you have something that was soaked, that was not soaked. You just put in the grains. If you can see, that's a white kernel in there. And here you have, correct me if I'm wrong, a soft grain product.
That's correct, indeed.
Right.
So what we'll have in the one made with the hard grains is that the crumb will be a lot drier already.
I was just going to say that.
And if by any chance or lack of chance you bite into one of the grains, you're going to feel that it's a little bit harder.
Right.
Of course, the benefit of the other one is that the crumb remains a lot moister. And then you have a tender grain to bite into instead of a very hard grain.
That's true. And back to this discussion, why different grains, different treatment?
So here the advantage of having different products is that we can have a lot of different flavor profiles and we can have different types of grains. Everybody doesn't want to have the same grains in their breads. Everybody doesn't want to have the same flavor profile. So by playing with the grains that are cooked and by playing with the sourdough that the grains are cooked in, we can come up with a variety of different products, leading to a variety of different breads.
I'm going to eat this whole thing.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I have a favorite one here. It's this one. It's really nice and sweet. What is it?
I believe it is the sweet grain. So another benefit is that with all the parameters that we can play with, the flavor profiles can be very different from one soft grain to another, which means that those products may be used into a variety of products, from really a white bread to a rye bread to a multigrain bread, and even to actually a sweet bread. So we have some of these products like the Sweet 9 that you just tasted, or the amber grain that brings also sweet notes, and these can be used into a brioche, for example, which is a very popular product these days.
So this is a soft grain product, right? You can see, everyone, it's already been hydrated and it's nice and soft.
So those grains are hydrated indeed, and they have also the flavor profile that has been soaked in. So when you eat the bread made with a product like that, not only will you get a nice flavor from the crumb, but also from within the grain itself. Okay. And that's very different from a dry grain, which doesn't have a lot of flavor by itself.
Okay. Someone asked, I want samples. So if you want samples, just type beneath where you are, where you're at, and we will get him to follow up with samples, okay? I have a question from the queue, and it asks, give me a second, I am almost there. If either of you can answer, because this is an expert question, how can I make the buns more soft and light that lasts for 10 days? If you have a specific ingredient, please let me know. Richard, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can do that. So the first two things that are very obvious is that you want to make sure that you have the right dough conditioning system to have the right volume. And then the second thing is you need to keep your product packed in a poly bag. And once in a while, it doesn't hurt to check the quality of the plastic, because all plastics are not created equal to water migration. So now let's put that aside. In terms of the ingredients that we can put into the dough, the first thing to consider when making a bun, if you want to extend the shelf life, is to use a freshness enzyme system. This kind of enzyme is going to work on the structure of the starch, and it will delay the starch crystallization, retrogradation. In practice, it means that the staling will be a lot slower, so you will be able to keep the buns for a longer time. In combination with those enzymes that you want to use, it's also important to make sure that you can control the growth of mold. So most of the time, a mold inhibitor is used, and in practice, it's been mainly calcium propionate for hamburger buns.
All right. Anything to add?
No, that basically covers the big ones.
Yeah, so I've got one more thing to add. Don't overbake your buns.
That's an important one.
That is like
yes.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
Thermal profile. Make sure you don't get your buns baked above below 80% arrival. So not more than 20% and above of your baking time should be above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So go visit our thermal profile page. Don't dry out your buns. Make sure the moisture is in there. Use enzymes. Add some oil. And I believe your buns can last over 21 days, right?
Yep. but not over baking them is an important one, because
yes.
You cannot recover from a bun that's over baked, no matter what you use.
Correct. All right. Next question. That's a Dr. Jane's question.
All right.
From our gluten hydration page, asked, as mentioned, other components also absorb water. Is there a calculation or somewhat of a formal calculation to calculate the amount of water adjusted for complete hydration of flour and not just the gluten? Good question. Dr. Jane, take it away.
So there's not really a formal equation or calculation that you can run to calculate how much water your flour needs to be fully hydrated. There are some general rules of thumb that you can think about in terms of gluten. However much gluten you have in your flour, the gluten will typically hold about 2 times its own weight in water, whereas something like an arabinoxylan or other soluble fibers can hold up to 10 times their weight in water. So each component has its own water holding capacity. Rather than trying to calculate it out, what you should probably do is get some form of instrumental measurement of the water holding capacity of your flour. That could be something like a farinograph, a consistograph, or a mixograph, where you're actually measuring water absorption, especially in terms of how the dough mixes up and how the dough handles. You could also do something like an SRC test, a solvent retention capacity. That's a more fine-grained test where you would actually measure the water holding capacity of the flour itself and then break it down into components like glutenins, damaged starch, soluble fibers, and start to figure out which specific component is holding most of the water. And that will help you figure out then how to bake it as well. So rather than calculate, you should just measure it directly.
So your answer to that is there's no real formal calculation then?
No, I mean, you would have to get very specific with your compositional breakdown, and you would just have to hope that natural variability doesn't kick into play and your soluble fibers hold only 8 times their weight in water versus 10 times their weight in water. So it's just really tough to calculate.
So it's not that, cereal scientists can't get this It's just that so much variability out there that we can't really give you an answer to calculate the total water absorption of a system. I think if anyone comes up with that, they will probably win the Pulitzer Prize or something. But you know, it's not possible right now. So the best, I would start with, you know, farinograph, understanding your protein, and then go into mixing it up. I believe something like mixograph, mixolab. We do that too.
Mixograph, Mixolab, farinograph. There are a lot of instruments that will give you an indication of water absorption or water holding capacity. Right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And that's all for today. For the answer in 5, we'll see you again soon. Say bye, Richard.
Bye.